So we have a quorum, so we can get started. Great. Okay. And you can hear me just fine, I'm assuming. I'm seeing nods as I'm counting folks. Great.
Beautifully. Awesome audio.
Awesome. New technology. All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome. Today is Monday, January 26th. This is the Mount Mansfield School District Board of Directors meeting. We are at Mount Mansfield High School, and we have a hybrid meeting. It was a snow day, and so we have a few folks in person and most folks are remote. I'm Edie Granning. I'm the board chair. Oh, and our facility tour was canceled today. That is on the agenda, just to be clear on that. I'm going to run through the agenda, and then Pat is going to do a roll call, and then we will get started. We start with community comments as usual. Then we have a principal report. We have our policy governance module that we have put off from the previous meeting, tabled, I guess, from the previous meeting. Then we have the entry plan summary with our findings, insights, and emerging themes. Superintendent report. We have minutes to approve, and then we will do other business if folks are okay with that before we go into executive session. Are folks good with that modification? Looking for nods? Yes? Great, thank you. Pat, why don't you do a roll call for us and we'll see who's here.
All right, thank you. Tara Arneson.
Present.
Kevin Campbell.
I'm here. Thank you.
Heather Chadwick. Allison Conant.
Here.
Stephen Diglio.
Here.
Edie Granning.
I'm here.
James Granzo.
Here.
Susan Lilich.
Here.
Sandra Limoges.
Here.
Kyle Magida.
Here.
Ethan Maurer.
Here.
Stuart Morageau. Katie Nelson.
Here.
Remote.
I'm going to have my camera off today, folks, so I'm ill and I just apologize for not being visible.
Lisa Pollock.
Here.
Helen Stoddard.
Here.
And student representatives Eli Wimet.
Here.
And Jack Connell.
Here.
Thanks, everybody.
Great, thank you so much. I want to say something before we do community comments. I don't want this to stifle community comments at all. I would like people who came here to speak, and we will listen to everything you have to say. And I know there's 5 minutes on the agenda for it, and that's a time holder. It is not at all something that is going to stop anybody from speaking. But I just want to say I saw on Front Porch Forum, and I heard from folks through email that there are a lot of concerns about what's happening with our pre-K program. And I want to let everybody know that we are working to make pre-K more available and with more opportunity for families in the community. And putting out a request for proposal is the first step for that. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. Until we get these requests for proposal back, we don't know what's going to happen. And so I know there's been some miscommunication and misunderstanding about what's happening. Again, I want you to say what your concerns are. That's really helpful for us to know that. And our goal is to make pre-K more available and more affordable to the families in our community. That's best for our families. It's best for our students. It's best for our district. So just wanted to make that super, super clear at the beginning of the meeting, because I know not everybody listens till the end of the meeting. Okay. What is it? Chair's prerogative to just kind of talk, and I'm going to stop now. And I'm just going to say community comments will be limited to no more than 5 minutes per person. The board requests that participants clearly state their name, place of residence, and topic of comment. The school board will take no action on items raised during community comments, and dialogue exchanges will be for clarification. Normally what we do is we take the folks in the room first, and then we go to the folks who are remote. But if you are remote, just pop your hand up and leave it up. It's not going to add any stress for me. And then I know that you want to talk. So that's really helpful. And if you're in the room and you want to pop your hand up, we'll start with you.
Hey, my name is Andrea Parikh. I have 2 students at UCS currently, the Bobcats. They are also excited to see me in the classroom as I'm a substitute para in the district as well. And I'm an avid community builder. Today, I am here with a group called Reconnect. Thank you for letting the board know why we're here. I think Superintendent Muldoon kind of gave you guys background, but for those of you who might not know, we started as a small group of families who came together to share concerns and resources around kids and smartphones and social media. And we are here tonight because it's on the agenda to talk about the new cell phone policy. We started as a small group of families, but after 2 successful community forums, a regular discussion group at the library, and other various community engagement activities, we have become a movement. We have a lot of people here in support of phone-free schools who may or may not be under the Reconnect umbrella, so to speak. So we'd all like to share with you our thoughts, hear what you have to say about successful implementation, how it will be enforced. We'd like to tell you the values on why this is such an important policy. And I know the student group will be speaking to this on February 9th, and we're excited to be there again for that. And in the meantime, we'd really just like to offer our support for anything we can do to help make this a success. There are so many reasons this is going to be beneficial for our students, our staff, our faculty, everybody. And again, as an avid community builder, this is only really going to help I'm going to steal Nora's words, but our 5 towns, 1 heartbeat. I think it's really going to be an amazing development for everyone around. So thank you all for all the work you do to make this amazing district. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to do a quick pat. You can hear folks. Just give me a thumb or a nod or a yes. Great. Okay.
Hi, my name's Dr. Bud Vanna. I'm from Jericho. I have 3 kids who go to JES. And I'm a general pediatrician, an adult and child and adolescent psychiatrist, and board eligible in addiction medicine. And I think, as Andrea already mentioned, we know that phone-free schools are really important for a sort of public mental health intervention to help our teens who, as I probably don't have to inform any of you, are suffering from one of the most challenging, children and adolescent mental health crises out there. So we know that phone-free schools helps mental health. I know you're a school and mental health for your students are, part of the consideration. But as a pediatrician, child and adolescent psychiatrist, phone-free schools helps us, in the field because we see all the benefits that helping kids disconnect sort of really creates. And to sort of talk about the addiction sort of aspect of it and why it's so important to make sure that phones are really sort of off of people's persons when we're worried about their attention being split and, these concerns about the distraction, interruption to learning, the idea right now that, the average amount of cell phone use that students have during the day is like 70 minutes. So 70 minutes out of the school day, the average child at MMU is using their phone. It sort of just boggles the mind. But you can see that, when students have access or it's in close proximity to their being, as we probably all can, sort of relate to as we're looking at, our computers and other things, when it's in front of us or it's on our person, it's much easier to access and to resist that impulsive, distractive drive. That we know is how these devices were built and sort of programmed for us. So I'm really hoping that, as you all are thinking about this, that you look at the practices and best practices and guidelines that really help these devices get off of people's persons, away from them, inaccessible, so that it really can succeed and have the real benefit that I think we expect it to have. So I appreciate everything you're doing and sort of creating and implementing a really careful and intentional policy, and look forward to hearing more about what you all are planning to do.
Thank you.
I'm Colleen Hopkin. I'm a mother of a Jericho elementary school student and also a Browns River middle school student. And I live in Jericho. And I was thrilled when the phone-free schools policy was passed. I think it's going to be hugely important to our kids. And I was a little disappointed when I saw the guidance when it came out because it was so limited in terms of its structure. And I just am here to really encourage our school district to, go beyond what's on the paper to really learn from what other schools have done. And because I really think we owe it to our kids to implement a strong policy that will enable them to take a break during the day from the distractions. As a parent who's trying to delay the phone acquisition for my kids, and them just being in a school environment where other kids aren't on the phones really helps me to hold the line because they will have an opportunity to play and be with their friends and connect with their friends during the day. And I just think that's so important for their growth. So I'm just really excited to see what Mount Mansfield Union District will come up with. I really think we can lead in this space, learning from what others have done and put a really strong policy in place.
Hey, I'm Kate Ye, and I live in Underhill and have two kids at UCS in 3rd and 1st grade, so a little bit on the younger side. I've been helping to coordinate and host a discussion series with Reconnect, which is basically just at the library, like an open forum for parents to come and
No, you're good. Yep.
like parents to get together and share ideas and concerns and questions, and just kind of support each other, basically for parents and parenting in the digital age. And I just wanted to share that a lot of the people, I would say probably the majority of people that come to our discussion series nights are parents of kids like my kids' age and younger. So this is like a huge topic for parents with younger kids that aren't quite to high school yet, but are coming down the pipe. And we're just all really interested in getting our kids, like giving them a childhood that's not so like locked into the phone. And I feel like we're really, really excited about this policy that's getting put together now. And we would just want to show our support for it. There's a lot of us, and we're happy to help in any way that we can to make things a little bit better for the kids now and for the kids that are coming down the line. So we're here to help financially if you need fundraising or to build with hammers, whatever you guys need, we're here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leanne Estridge. I also live in Underhill and have younger children. I have a 1st grader at Underhill Central School, and I have a preschooler who's at preschool at Booker Hill, so in town as well. And I'm here tonight to also voice my support around this group here at Reconnect. What you see of us here in this row and beyond on the screen is still just a fraction of the group of people who show up to these conversations, to these forums. And it's been a powerful movement to see growing and be a part of. And it's very near to me for my children, but also for the children that I work with. I'm a mental health clinician. I primarily work with adolescents, teenagers, who are really in the thick of this. And it's really, I want to acknowledge, it's really hard to take away those privileges from kids who have grown so used to them and had them for so long as their coping mechanisms. And I just want to acknowledge that I understand that's hard to do. And I want to see this roll out with meaning and with intention that is strong and that can go beyond what others might be expecting for our district here in Vermont. I think that someone had already said it tonight too, but we owe it to these kids to give them an environment that can help them thrive. And when it's clear by the research, it's clear by observation, it's clear, but even testimony from other teenagers that it makes a big difference for them. So I, again, just want to voice my support and try to represent this community here of parents and these kids, and also offer in any way, you know, if it's running surveys, if it's, you know, yeah, like Kate said, building with hammers or raising money. We want to be here to help. And so we're very open to doing whatever ideas you all come up with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Amanda Goosen. I have one kiddo at Browns River Middle School. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about a flow state. So we all know what it's like when we get into a state of flow. It's a definition of mental state of complete immersion, intense focus, and enjoyment in activity, where action and awareness merge. When we're distracted from a flow state, it can take us up to 23 minutes to get back into one. I so deeply want our kids to be able to access a flow state in their day, in whatever class they're in and whatever social environment they're in. 45% of teens are online almost constantly. 46% of teens have been bullied online. And 8 seconds is the length of an average teen's attention span. I want to make the case for why simply keeping cell phones in backpacks or somehow near a student is not enough. This incentivizes students to hide phones and phone use throughout the day. Policing phone use becomes a full-time job for teachers. And in 2023, a University of Toronto study articulated the brain drain effect, which found that having a phone in the room, even if it's powered off, makes it more difficult to problem solve, process, and remember information. I also want to say that I want to just touch on briefly that some parents are really understandably concerned that they want to be able to reach their children immediately if there's an emergency, like a school shooting. However, there is a bunch of research around this, and a school in which students are calling or texting an emergency is likely to be less safe than a school in which only adults have phones and students are listening to adults and paying attention to their surroundings. Also, cell phone networks can go down if too many calls are placed, impeding emergency response. I want to just end by saying that I had such an inspiring conversation with the principal of Montpelier High School, who's instituted an incredible plan that really is adaptive to his students' needs, and it's in the center of the school, and there is so much focus on community building. The process there was really involved student input, but also tremendous caregiver input and staff input. And, you know, it was a real primary goal to make sure to take this responsibility of policing phones off the teachers' plates. They have so much on their plates right now. The last thing they need to do is be policing who has phones in their bags. But he also really articulated this human-centered approach that was speaking about how important it is, that the most important thing there is that there's a culture of belonging, and that he didn't want the phones to break the relationship. So we just, you know, let's not forget, this is Vermont, home to Bernie and Ben & Jerry's and Bread and Puppet. This isn't that hard. There are a lot of schools in the state that are doing an incredible job of navigating this really well. And you know, our district is incredible. We do lots of things very well, and this ought to be one of them. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Edie, can I interrupt real quickly?
No? Thanks, Ethan. No.
There's somebody waiting in to get into the meeting. That's all. I just didn't know if you saw that note.
Thank you, Brett. Somebody's waiting to get into something.
That sounded technical.
Nope, I want to stick with in the room. So.
Good evening. I apologize. I'm going to read off my phone because I have something prepared. But my name is Caitlin Filkins, and I'm a Richmond resident. and a parent of a kindergartner at RES and a 2-year-old who will be in the 2027-2028 school year. I'm here about the pre-K wraparound services RFP issued on January 15th. This RFP proposes to fundamentally restructure how pre-K education is delivered in our district, shifting from a district-run model to one where a third-party organization provides the majority of the day, with district teachers dropping in for partial day sessions. I've reviewed the board agendas from recent months, and I cannot find this item. I cannot find public discussion. I cannot find a vote. I have requested to confirm this with public records requests from the superintendent's office. I understand this district operates under a policy governance model and that the superintendent has latitude to achieve the board's goals, which I very much understand. But a governance philosophy adopted by the board does not override state law. 16 VSA 563 is clear. This board shall determine the educational policies of the district. The same statute gives the board, not the superintendent, discretion to administer early educational program for kindergarten children, where shall is mandatory. The legislature assigned these duties to the board. This is a 3-year contract that changes who is responsible for our youngest learners during the school day. That is educational policy, which requires board action and requires public input. I'm calling on this board to pause the RFP process, hold a public hearing on the pre-K restructuring, and give families a voice in how their children will be educated. I'm also calling on this board to postpone any changes to the program until the 2027-2028 school year to give the community and the board time to properly research, plan, and invest in the future of our early education policies and programs. I understand a survey was conducted. As someone who is married to a data scientist, this data collected from the survey is not statistically significant and is biased in the nature it was gathered. Given this process time will also give families time to plan for any changes they can make so they can make decisions on the best path forward for their family in light of any changes that are actioned by the district. We cannot place more stress, anticipation, and confusion on these families entering our district than our pre-K enrollment process can already cause, especially a significant milestone in our children's lives. Thank you for your service to this community and to your dedication to our children. I have also come with one version of a signed petition. We have over 100 signatures that we've collected since Friday in favor of this same message. I will leave this here tonight and I will email the other copies that we're unable to gather due to the snow this evening. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Adam Kinney, also a Richmond resident, also here to talk about the hot topic of the proposed changes to preschool programming. Going to echo a lot of Caitlin's concern. I'm here tonight as a parent of 2 young children, one of whom is currently enrolled in her first of 2 years of preschool, to share concerns about the proposed changes. My main concerns center on the nature of community involvement in the decision-making process and the unintended consequences that this approach may have for children and families. I was originally encouraged to hear that the proposed changes to programming were designed to be aligned with community input. However, I later learned that the single survey sent to currently enrolled families was the primary source of that input. The survey provided little context about the budget constraints or the goals of the proposed changes, and many of the questions were broad enough to be interpreted in multiple ways. Despite this, the results are now being presented as clear support for a specific solution, even though the same responses could reasonably support different conclusions. This makes it difficult to view the survey as an accurate reflection of community perspectives, yet it continues to be cited as evidence that these changes are responsive to community needs. Beyond this survey, community involvement has been limited to 2 Zoom meetings after the RFP was developed and released to the public, limiting opportunities for engagement before major decisions seem to be made. I appreciate the complexity of this challenge facing district leadership. I truly do, especially when you're serving 5 towns with very diverse needs. But that complexity, in my view, makes early and ongoing community engagement even more important. Involving families and educators throughout this process, not just at the end, could help identify local needs and support more tailored, high-quality solutions to this problem. I'd also like to share just one example of how this lack of engagement may have produced some unintended challenges for children and families. With the current timeline, families will learn their children's preschool structure in February, giving about 6 months notice. Many families of first-year preschoolers, ours included, planned around 4-day week, full-day preschool before kindergarten. Changing this so rapidly disrupts work schedules, childcare arrangements, and finances, especially since enrollment deadlines for other programs have already passed and alternatives may be significantly more expensive. Additionally, young children thrive on consistency and routine. Under this proposal, 3- and 4-year-olds would face multiple schedule changes and transitions between caregivers each day. Further, currently enrolled 3-year-olds who are used to full days preschool would see a major disruption to their routine, followed by another shift the following year for kindergarten. These repeated changes can have negative consequences for child's development and well-being. From the outside, to be honest, it's hard not to feel that budget pressures may be driving these decisions more than community needs, especially when survey results are being presented as broad community support despite their limitations. At the very least, it suggests that the approach to community engagement needs rethinking so that families and educators are truly part of shaping these solutions. Like everyone here, I want to see children in our community have access to high-quality early education that supports both their development and their families. I urge that we slow this process, clearly communicate goals and constraints, and engage the community in meaningful ways, including through open forums, transparent budget scenarios, and opportunities for families and educators to provide input before major decisions are made. And I was encouraged to hear before this meeting opened up that that may be on the table. I appreciate your time and I appreciate your service to this community.
Hi, I'm Bree Healy, and I'm a Richmond resident and local public school educator for middle schoolers. So I appreciate what everyone in the front row is doing. I have a first grader at RES, and I have a 3-year-old who's hopefully entering into the Richmond pre-K program. I'm also going to read off my phone. I echo what Adam and Caitlin have said here. I just want to thank you for acknowledging at the beginning. I can't read it. For acknowledging the discommunication and misinformation that it feels like we're experiencing with this. It feels like the first time that anyone has at least even acknowledged that we're voicing that. With all due respect, your timeline is completely out of touch with the needs of families in the community. Step 1 in the pre-K journey is being able to simply register your child and have baseline information. The original registration date was supposed to be on Wednesday of this week, which is in 2 days. And now we're kind of left in a big unknown period. And like they said, there's other timelines that we're trying to work with, work obligations, childcare needs that we're committing to or not committing to based on this idea that looks really good on paper and in the bank account, but really doesn't seem like it's listening to the community. Current MMUUSD families are not being provided this first step to just get their kids enrolled into the lottery system or enrolled into pre-K. Despite being a public educator of 13 years, I am not claiming to know the needs of other families with children in the pre-K district. I appreciate the effort and to have foresight and the unfortunate education climate we're experiencing at the state level. However, the district and school board need to hear this request and please pause this shift until more thorough work has been done. I have attended both Q&A sessions and was impressed with the ideas that were generated from community members in ways that either tailored it to different community schools. I acknowledge the case for equity there as well, but there were some ideas that were generated in the chat feature that kind of gave the same partnership model, but in a little bit of a different way that felt like it met the district needs and the family needs better. So I've signed the petition. I plead with you to please pause, do a little bit more work, and let us just register our kids for pre-K for the coming year on a little bit more of a normal timeline. Thanks.
I think that's everyone in the room. We have 5 people online. I'm looking for 1. Brett, can you tell me whose hand is up first? I see a 2, but I don't see a 1.
Hey, this is Adam Wood. I want to start by saying that we have a kid who's in pre-K now and will be out next year, so these changes wouldn't affect us. but I was pretty struck by the magnitude of the changes and the implications for future kids in Richmond moving forward. I guess all the community concerns aside for schedules and implications there about that, I can't speak to, but I was struck by the massive reduction in pre-K hours that each kid would see, and knowing that high quality pre-K education can set the trajectory for a kid's entire scholastic career. I think that's a gross underinvestment in our children, and knowing that investment at the pre-K level, specifically the public pre-K level, would disproportionately help disadvantaged kids. Reducing that would really go a long ways in furthering inequity in education in Richmond and in the whole school district. So I guess just purely from that perspective, this is pretty alarming to me. I'd hope the school district can pause and look at the true benefits of that larger, more expanded pre-K program for all the students over their entire scholastic career, and not just look at the short-term, 1 or 2 year budget implications of having expanded pre-K. Thank you. I think my wife wanted to speak too, but we have logged in as one.
Hi, I'm Elise Parenti. I'm also a Richmond resident. Like Adam said, we have a first grader and pre-K student. I did take the survey as a current pre-K student enroll. I will echo what some of the other folks said. It was extremely deceiving. It was very generic. Just so you know, maybe you guys should retake a look at the survey that went out. It was like, who wants 5 days? And I can assure you almost everyone checked that, thinking that they were getting more coverage, not less. And I would just, like everyone's saying, really urge you to take a step back, pause. It's not too late to just say, we can't roll this out this year. Let's roll out what we've done every other year and take a really holistic look at what works best for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Melissa?
Hi. I just wanted to pivot back a little bit to reconnect. My name is Melissa Heitkamp. I'm a Jericho resident, and I have 3 girls, 2 at JES and 1 at BRMS. I'm here as one of the original Reconnect members. When my oldest was in 4th grade, she started to experience some exclusion around social media, and I was shocked that had to be on my radar in 4th grade. And then later in the year, she actually, in class, was invited over to a friend's computer, where she was exposed to a bunch of horror clips on YouTube. And of course, the algorithm just kept spewing out worse and worse clips. So that was about a 10-minute in-class example. And just really, Principal Rolene at the time connected me to some of the other parents here. And we just kind of worked together to kind of think about and dream about what we would like for our kids, especially as they were entering middle school. I am a social worker, and I work with youth and adolescents and families in the community. And I always thinking about what is the lesson we want our youth to take away. And so when I think about the rollout and the implementation, I really want to impress how important the implementation and how you guys roll this out is, just to set the tone, to remind them of the values behind the policy. That's really huge, to not just say we're taking away the phone, but we're actually wanting you to connect in real life. This is the time for you to grow your social skills. And that just really drives, I think, Reconnect in itself, our name comes from not taking away phones, but really wanting to highlight the importance of connecting in real life. And that has been the magic of our group, has been the relationships formed over the last 2 years. So just to clarify, we really know that there's a budget crisis, and again, want to come alongside you to share alternative resources and alternative ways to implement this that do not include the phones being in pouches or in computer cases. We understand that is kind of the easiest way just to handle the whole situation. And we really want to challenge you to choose the harder way, which is actually the best for everybody. As Amanda pointed out, if it's on your body, it's on your mind. There's attention, distraction, divided attention. If it buzzes, you want to go check it. And we are teaching our kids to hide and sneak. And we're asking our teachers to be in the enforcers and the policemen, which it's kind of the opposite. So again, if we go back to what we want our kids to learn, we want them to learn that the problem is not their self-control. These devices are literally made to be addictive, which is why France and Australia have recently banned social media for kids 15 and 16 and under. We also want them to not just learn to hide it or put it away. We want them to learn from their mistakes so that it's not punitive, that the teachers are their enemies, but that they can learn, like, hey, we really want you to connect with people in real life. We want your full attention. These are skills. These are life skills that you're here to learn. So I just really, again, ask, and I know it's the harder choice, but we really, as you guys are thinking about how to enforce, or not to enforce, but how to roll out the policy, we want to be a resource. We want to help you guys. Again, Amanda connected with some other schools and has some amazing alternative options that other than putting it in their pouches. And if there's any fundraising needed or community work, we find that to be a great way for our community to come together in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Lacey Markowski.
Hi, my name is Lacey Markowski, and I'm from Underhill. I'm the mother of 2 daughters, ages 13 and 15, and I'm here to support the bell-to-bell cell phone policy. My oldest daughter, is presently on the student committee. In our home, we are not tech abstinent, but we are tech intentional. Neither of my daughters has a cell phone yet. I look at a smartphone the same way I look at the car my 15-year-old just started learning to drive. I would never hand her the keys and wish her luck without months of supervised practice and guardrails. Yet as a society, we often hand our children the portal to the entire world, including the darkest corners without a learner's permit. Even as an adult, I struggle myself to regulate my own screen time, so I don't know how we could expect our middle schoolers and high schoolers with developing brains to fight the dopamine loop that the designers, with the smartest engineers specifically, are creating to keep them hooked. I see the impact of this digital noise every single day. Even when the screen is down, their minds are still often on the missed notifications and unscrolled feeds. We are seeing a mental health crisis that is so significant that Surgeon General has recently called for warning labels on social media, much like the gradual rollout of warnings on tobacco decades ago. We're finally seeing the data on the harm, and we have to act. Our schools should be a sanctuary. While our kids will always find ways to do things they may later regret, let's give them a safe, focused space within these walls. The external world will greet them soon enough. They don't need it in their pockets during algebra. I'm a huge fan of graduated responsibility. Just as we use learners' permits for driving, I believe we should explore tiered accessibility for responsible upperclassmen as they phase into adulthood. But to get there, we must first establish a focused foundation from bell to bell. I believe we cannot simply take something away without offering a path forward. To support this transition, I've been working with the principals and counselors at MMU and BRMS to launch a peer-led initiative called Control-Alt-Succeed. This group will be led by MMU National Honor Society students who will mentor teens and tweens on building healthy digital habits. By focusing on self-correction rather than just adult-led enforcement, we're empowering students to reclaim their focus through a gradual, responsible introduction to technology. This creates a space to replace it with real-world connection, ensuring this policy doesn't feel just like a ban. It'll feel more like an opportunity for every student to reach their full potential. The bell-to-bell policy isn't just about being anti-tech, it's about creating a space for focus. It's a public health intervention, a seatbelt for the mind that allows our kids to be students first. It supports us as parents in our job in keeping them safe, vigilant, and connected to the real world, helping them grow into the responsibility of the digital age rather than being consumed by it. Thank you for taking our comments.
Thank you. Christine H.
Good evening. My name is Christine Holtz. I'm a resident of Jericho, and my 12-year-old son is a student at BRMS. I'm here to also chime in and add my support of the bell-to-bell policy for phone-free schools, and also to just express my concerns about the different ways that we can roll out this policy. Specifically, we know about the different cognitive impacts of and distractions and harms that are caused by kids having access to phones during the day. The social mental health impacts we've always have been spoken to. But I wanted to speak a little bit more to just what I consider probably the most important consideration in the educational environment, which is the impact and the demand on the students' attention from having access to the phones during the school day. We know what the research shows and what the engineers who create smartphones and apps know, that they're designed to keep us engaged and hold our attention. Our attention is the product from which they profit. And this isn't conjecture. As other people said, I think we can all admit to feeling the addictive pull of our phones. And as others have mentioned, research also shows that just knowing that your phone is nearby decreases our focus and our attention. And so really, I'm an advocate for supporting, however we implement this rollout, a maximal separation between students and these devices. My background and my both personal and professional practice are in mindfulness. And as we say, mindfulness can be a kind of woo-woo word right now, but essentially mindfulness just means attention. And so at any time we are paying attention to something and not paying attention to other things. So the question here is, do we want our kids to have something that is constantly pulling their attention in a direction of tech and notifications, or do we want them to have an experience in an educational environment where they can focus on learning and connection and growth? And I understand that there's a lot of challenges to implementing this and different opinions on the matter. And I do believe that it's in our best interest for us to have the phones as far away from the kids as possible during the day. We can't go back and give back time to the students and the teachers who were sort of the guinea pigs for having these devices in our lives and in our faces in such profound ways. But we do have the opportunity to make a different choice for our kids and for future generations. And so I guess I just want to suggest that rather than thinking about taking phones away as a punitive sort of scary thing that we have to figure out how to do, that we can consider it both for ourselves and in the way that we present it really as a gift. It'll be a gift for our children. It'll be a gift for our educators who have been fighting this battle for attention for way too long already. And it's really a gift of time and of space and of attention that, rather than being owned by phones, will be available for our kids to connect with each other and with their teachers and with this environment that is intended to help them grow and become productive, helpful members in our world. So thank you for your time and for your support of our kids and our community. Thanks.
Thank you. Megan Deedweller?
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Megan Detweiler, and I live in Huntington. And I'm the parent of a 1st and 4th grader at Brewster Pierce, and I also have a 7th grader at Camel's Hump Middle School. I'm here to add my voice to all the ones we've heard already this evening in support of phone-free schools. In addition to being a parent in the district, I have 20 years of experience working in mental health and addiction medicine, with the last decade being focused at the Howard Center as a certified addiction registered nurse. For the past 3 years, I worked in an alternative therapeutic high school, which has a bell-to-bell phone policy, with students securing their devices at the start of each day in a locker system. From a public health perspective, this policy is a protective intervention, similar to that of seatbelts and smoking bans. Phones and social media are intentionally designed, as we've already heard this evening, to activate the brain's dopamine system. As an addictions nurse, I see this impact daily: increased anxiety, depression, social isolation, attention problems in our young people. In the therapeutic school where I worked, phones were locked away. There, I witnessed improved focus, more peer engagement, fewer behavioral and bullying issues, and classrooms where teachers could actually teach and not police cell phones. While there was initial pushback, both parents and their students adjusted, and quickly once the expectations were clear and consistent. Research shows that even knowing your phone is nearby reduces attention and learning. From an addiction science perspective, asking students to keep phones on them but not use them is like placing a package of Oreos in front of my hungry 6-year-old and then telling him to ignore it and not eat them. We know this doesn't work. The cue alone activates our craving and distraction long before any behavior occurs. Keeping phones on students all day means that cue never goes away. Similarly, in treatment settings, we reduce access to addictive stimuli because willpower alone isn't an effective intervention, especially for developing brains. Having your phone secured in a laptop bag or in your backpack is setting our youth up to fail. They deserve better than that. This is an opportunity for our district to really support our young people and their mental health, support educators' effectiveness and academic success in the development of this policy. Vermont has a long history of using thoughtful, evidence-based public health policy to protect young people, and this is our opportunity at MMU to lead the way with care, clarity, and courage. I encourage you as you develop this phone-to-phone or the bell-to-bell phone-free policy for our district, and we really appreciate your time and thoughtful consideration this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Delaney.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patty Delaney, and I also live in Huntington. It seems to be the Huntington contingent coming in online. I don't know why. Can't imagine. I have a sophomore at MMU who is also an alum from Brewster Pierce and Campbell's Hunt Middle School. And by way of background, I have a PhD in social anthropology. My own professional background and expertise is in the area of what we call in public health and international development, social and behavioral change. So the work that I do as a professional is often helping organizations, school districts, communities, sometimes entire countries, to think through big, tough, complicated problems, like how to wean folks from an addictive product in a way that's respectful and responsible and leads to better outcomes. So I sometimes work in settings like Afghanistan and helping organizations to figure out how to get school for girls to have access to schooling, or preventing gender-based violence in healthcare settings in places like Myanmar or East Timor. And I say this because the lessons that I bring from my professional experience, I think are directly relevant to this conversation that we're having about the bell-to-bell phone ban and the challenges that we're facing as a society in addressing this public health challenge. So I'd like to echo what many of my neighbors and colleagues have said about the importance of this, and say that as a public health professional, I'm very excited about the fact that the law was passed and that we have a really remarkable opportunity to improve the conditions in which our students are learning and in which our educators are working. I want to just very briefly speak to a maybe slightly different way that those of us in the community could help to support the district. And those that are designing and thinking about the process through which implementation is going to happen. So in the work that I do in other places in the world, and in fact, sometimes even in Vermont, I serve as an advisor quite often to help organizations in transition through a sort of methodological brainstorming and solution finding around ways to think through the changes that need to happen so that we can design an implementation approach to solve a social problem in a way that is comprehensive, that is rigorous, that is informed by science, but that is also understood and held and committed to by all of the stakeholders that are affected by that change. And so in the work that I do in that applied research, I often start with consultations with all of the affected stakeholders by asking together, what does our end state look like? What would success look like for us? And I think you've heard from many this evening that for many of us, myself included, success would look like maximum separation between students and their phones as a way to mitigate and ameliorate and minimize the negative consequences of having that dopamine hit right next to us. And the way that I often go about this work in the consultations that I do with other community organizations is to engage in a participatory methodology, which includes a diverse array of approaches to work collaboratively with the different people who have the lived experience of these challenges and involve them in the decision-making about how we might implement change. I'm aware that, like Lacey, I'm aware that there's a student group that's really been working on this and thinking about it. I'm partly aware because my son Henry is in the student group. But I also recognize that the gold standard for implementing this kind of large, significant social change is to make sure that our planning processes are robust, comprehensive, and involve lots of different stakeholders. So what I would like to offer this evening, in addition to the offers of support, financial support and hammers and all of those sorts of things that my friends and neighbors have offered, I'd like to also say that we can provide methodological support, running focus groups, designing surveys, holding listening sessions, doing a prototyping session of, hey, these are 3 different options for how we might implement this. How would that work best, and what would the challenges be? I know that there's already been engagement with students, and I look forward to hearing their report out. I'm not sure the extent to which there's been a similar engagement with teachers and other adults in the building. And given their long-term experience and expertise, I think it would be really wonderful to make sure that they're involved in a robust way as well. I'll finish up by saying thank you.
I was going to say, yep,
Thanks.
thank you. That's 5 minutes. Thank you. Paul and Heather Parker.
Just Paul tonight. Good evening. So I'm Dr. Paul Parker. I'm a pediatrician in Richmond, a resident of Richmond. I've had 5 kids go through the school system here, get a wonderful education that prepared them for life. And I have many patients who are in the school systems as well. My contention tonight is that, frankly, smartphones are not good for kids. I'm not sure they're great for adults. Obviously, there's lots of good things that come from access, but there's more bad things for kids, and it's really not good for their social and emotional development. I've been in practice for 30 years here in Richmond for 20, and I've seen, and primary care has been inundated with mental health problems in teens. The introduction of the smartphone correlates very clearly to a spike in teen depression and anxiety, suicide, eating disorders, pornography consumption, and now sports betting. Studies in college students show a very clear causation between time spent in social media and rates of anxiety and depression among these students. In the school setting, it's a huge distraction to have a phone. I would ask, really, what advantage does it provide these kids? I would say really none. I hear from my patients that they see other kids cheating. Kids find ways to use their phones. Kids are resourceful, they're smart, and they know this tech better than the adults do. They're going to find a way around if they have access to their phone. So I really believe in a phone-free zone for schools. Kids, all the parents who say that they want to have access to the kids, I would say kids need to learn independence from their parents, and having continual texting going on between kids and parents is not a good thing. It really is not conducive to them having a successful launch. So my contention is just the less time that these kids have access to a smartphone, the better off they're going to do, whether that is talking about their mental health, their school performance, just their general level of happiness. And so I think it's really crucial to put into place a measure that creates as much distance as possible between kids and their phones. And school is a time when they can be away from the phones. They have enough time to do that at home. So thanks for your consideration, and thanks for your service, school board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Aiken.
Thanks. Mark Aiken. I'm from Richmond. I have a 7th grader and a 5th grader. I'm talking on behalf of my wife, Allison, and I'm here to talk about phone-free schools. I'm encouraged by all the support that I'm hearing tonight for phone-free schools. I think the law that was passed is a real opportunity. I just wanted to say that my son has this circle of friends, the 7th graders, who do not have phones, and as far as I know, aren't on social media, and they're well-adjusted, kind, smart, athletic, fun, and they seem to be doing great. And this group is going to be in high school in 2 years. And I'm just hopeful that, with the passing of the law, that 2 years from now, they're going to have it would be great to see this phone-free status that they have continue. I understand that the schools are looking at, or some of the schools are looking at, a phones in backpacks approach. And to me, this just falls very short of the intention of the law and what's good for our kids. I've heard the words a lot tonight, bell to bell. I think that we should also be looking at driveway to driveway. I would love to see phones not even be on the bus, especially for the younger schools. I just don't think that phones are positive in anyone's life. I agree with Dr. Parker. I don't think they're positive in my own life or anyone here. And I urge the school board to move ahead with a policy that gives kids a completely phone-free school environment. It'll be better for them. They don't need social media. They don't need phones and other kids on phones at school. Thanks.
Thank you. Heidi Racht.
Hi, can you all hear me? I don't have a screen right here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. This has nothing to do with the conversation at hand. So
Could
would
you
you
just
like
state your name and your town for the record for us, please?
Sure. Heidi Rock, and my town is Huntington. I just came out of a Board of Civil Authority meeting where we discussed the March 3rd election. And Richmond has a new town clerk, and this is her first election. And normally the Richmond town clerk has handled the Mount Mansfield details. And I called Marshall Paulson and suggested to him that the board hire Linda Parent to come in and manage the MMU commingled ballots part of the election on March 3rd. I think it's necessary in order to get through that to have somebody who has experience. So that's the first part. The second thing is I should also identify myself as the Huntington Town Clerk. We are doing a hand count in Huntington on March 3rd, and we'll be using our tabulator. So it is available to use for the Mount Mansfield commingled voting. My husband and I brought it to Richmond last year and made it available for that election. And then I think our road crew went and picked it up sometime after all the snow melted. So our tabulator is available if you want to, not our tabulator, our HIPPO. The frame is available to be used for this election if somebody wants to get back to me about that, because I don't know who to contact now that Linda is gone. Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. John Muldoon, our new superintendent, will reach out to you and the other clerks. Emily Mitchell.
Hi, everyone. My name's Emily Mitchell. I am a Richmond resident. I have a high school senior and a high school freshman, all of whom have gone straight through the MMU school district. My youngest being in the preschool as well. So first, there's 3 hot topics tonight. So hot topic number 1, I just want to echo my support of all the current preschool or pre-preschool parents and request that the board does sort of slow the roll here and really listen to the families for whom this is affecting. And just a reminder, sometimes people choose outside care because of logistics. They have a baby and a preschooler, right? So they need someplace that constitutes care for both children. Second, I am also a 25-year veteran educator, and I am currently an art teacher at Champlain Valley Union High School, where we did have and rolled out a bell-to-bell phone-free school policy for our very large district. Our high school has about 1,400 students. We got them little pencil cases, for lack of a better description, since those other vacuum sealed things are kind of redonkulous in terms of cost. And while we've had ups and downs, I have to tell you, it's been exceptionally effective. And from an educator's point of view, I have loved it. Dealing with other behaviors and again instead, but you know what, like they're normal teenage behaviors. I would be happy to talk with the board about our experience, about how staff learned de-escalation techniques, about how faculty and staff who were skeptics now love it. There are some logistical things from a teaching perspective, especially as an art teacher, about not having access to the camera portions of their phones, but we figured it out. Parents have figured it out. Students with medical exemptions have figured it out, and faculty know who those students are. So I just want to say it's been great, and I'm happy to talk about it. With 1,400 students, they have held them in their bags and with the power off, with earbuds off. Have I confiscated phones? Yeah. Has it been a big deal? No. We've made it amicable and fine, and I still have great relationships with my students. So Have I confiscated phones from kids in bathrooms? Yup. Is it awkward? Sure. Are they over it? Yeah. It's not a big deal. We've moved on and it's been great. Last but not least, I'm talking about something that's a completely different topic. Chairperson Granning and Superintendent Muldoon, I have sent you both, and I will send to the rest of the board, a sample policy from the NEA that crafts language to support our district or any school district becoming a safe zone school district. I know that the school board and the principals shared out to our community last winter regarding protecting our students from ICE and Customs and Border Patrol and in our schools with regards to following constitutional or legal precedent. But it's very clear after this weekend and obviously before this that this portion of our government is no longer paying attention to constitutional or legal precedent. As you guys are all, hopefully most of you in this room or on this call are aware that children as young as 5 and even 2 have been detained and utilized by these people to lure their parents into custody or, and while it's really easy to think that Vermont is a place where this cannot happen, it might. And I think we have to face the reality that we need to present and protect our students and teachers with clear boundaries and processes for protecting our community. There are students who may be afraid to come to school. So I would love for the board to take this up at a future meeting. I am happy to send that sample policy to everybody else, or you guys can pass it on to the rest of the board. But on a, as an educator, I have many multilingual language learners in my classes this year, as well as a myriad of other minority and majority students. Vermont is not homogeneous, and the fear and panic and trauma I feel when one of them is absent and I don't know why right now is heartbreaking. And so I'm asking the board to consider this and at a future meeting and to stand up and protect our students and staff. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Emily Tenenbaum.
Good evening, everybody. I am recognizing how long you all have been taking public comment. So big, huge thank you for sitting there and taking public comment in this moment. And gosh, I am struck by the parenting things we are all facing in this moment. And I'm here to speak about UPK, but also props and support for everything that's being said around UConnect and Reconnect and phone-free schools. So I have young kids, but I am looking forward to that moment when, our kids are faced with similar things. So support for that as well. But I am a Richmond resident. I'm a parent of 3 kids. 2 are currently at Richmond Elementary School. One is sitting next to me on the floor watching this as well, and is giving lots of props to you all as we're doing this meeting. And I have one of the kids had been in pre-K classroom when he was 4, and I currently have a 3-year-old enrolled in a community-based program and wondering what the district is about to do and understanding what the options will be for delivery of services in Richmond. I am too requesting that the school board take actions regarding these pre-K wraparound services and the RFP issued on January 15th. I won't go into what was outlined in the pledge that you all received tonight, but I'm in full support. I have signed the pledge, and I know even if the weather was a little bit better, there would probably be a lot more pledges tonight. So to be clear, I do not think there's been a misunderstanding of the proposal. Simply put, there has not been time necessary for quality engagement or community conversation to give anyone the opportunity to understand what's being proposed and the plan for the upcoming school year. These are complex issues with, I know, so many budget concerns and intricate ways that funding is received in the school district, especially for early education. I really appreciate Superintendent Muldoon being open to continued conversations and to discussing the many options. But these changes at this moment in the timeline for pre-K enrollment will do harm to all of our goals as parents, educators, and most importantly, our kids. I understand the complexities of the pre-K system and how it interacts with school districts, though I am no expert, and I know the budget constraints and pressures you all are faced with are enormous. I want to double click on that. Like, it is so hard to be in the position you all are as administrators and as a board. I am not opposed, nor is anyone requesting these changes and this action to exploring new models for early care and learning with an eye towards innovation and change. In fact, we are so interested in working with you all to figure out what expansion of early education looks like in our district. We are asking for the opportunity to be part of this important conversation about how our youngest children are educated. I want to thank the district, Superintendent Muldoon, and the board of directors for centering early education and being such strong advocates and being an incredible model for pre-K delivery in our state. I'm sure most of you all know, but we are such a model and we need to continue moving forward, not backward. We know when we invest in the early years, we are improving outcomes for children, ensuring they are ready for kindergarten, parents can get to work, and our communities can thrive. In closing, I want to show immense gratitude for our early educators and educators in all settings and the work they do every day to help our kids grow, learn, and thrive. And I know we all have a shared goal, so let's get together, get to work, and really understand the options here for our earliest learners. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily. Judy, I think you're our last speaker for public comment.
This is Judy's husband. I don't think you can see me, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, and if you could tell us your name and where you're from, that would be great.
Yeah, it's Ozzie Henschel. I'm from Barton, Vermont.
From Barton?
Yes.
I'm sorry. This is, we have residents from our 5 towns that speak at public comment. I'm happy to take an email from you at another time, but we've had public comment now for a while, almost an hour. And so I'm not going to even ask the board for permission, but I'm happy to ed.granning@MMUUSD.org. And I would love to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
I do have a grandson at Browns River School, and this will only take about 3 minutes.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna waive that or even ask the board tonight. A different night, I would be happy to. If you wanted to pop your comments into the chat, somebody who is on the board can save them and send them on to me as well, and the rest of the board. Our next agenda item is principal's report. And for folks who are here, you're welcome to stay for the whole meeting. You are welcome to head out at any point. We are, almost an hour behind. We're going to catch up. It'll be great. Mike, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? And
Mike Weston, principal here.
How long have you been here?
21 years.
Thank you.
This report is also with, and I'm pointing at the screen, with Eli and Jack. They're going to be chiming in. They're the student reps, so they're important parts of this report. I did it a little bit different this year. Instead of really talking about academic programs, I focused in on sort of the programs that add structure and support, build a little bit of the feeling of community to MMU. The first one, I just did it in alphabetical order. There's no real order of import here. I started with the number and went to the alphabet. The first one was 9th grade co-ops, and co-ops are sort of the hidden teams for 9th graders that come into MMU, and they're designed to add structure and support to a 9th grader. A 9th grader is going to have, it'll be about a third of the class has the same English, history, social science, social studies, and health and fitness teachers. These teachers meet every 2 weeks. They talk about the students. They make sure the work's not too heavy. It's a way to bring students into the high school where they feel they have more freedom, but still have that safety net kind of up close to the wire they're walking. Jack, Eli, do you remember your co-ops? Did you even know you were in a co-op? Anything you want to add about a co-op?
That was
Eli, you can go first.
No, I was just going to say, I remember it feeling very nice and structured, and it was helpful to be with the same group of people all year round and just to sort of get to know, because the mixture of meeting like an entire school's worth of new people, it can be difficult at first. So it was very helpful with that structure.
Yeah, I'd say pretty much the same thing. I came from Boston up until freshman year, so I didn't really know anyone. So it was really nice to just like be with one group of kids and just be around them for pretty much the whole year. And I'd get to know them. And then sophomore year, I was able to branch out more.
One of the other things co-ops allow us to do is it gives us a structure to teach skills that you need in high school. So one teacher is going to teach note taking, or one content area is going to teach note taking. One content area is going to talk about how to organize your Google Drive. One content area is going to talk about presentations. And then they do all of that's used in all the other content areas, but it's a way for us to help students acquire some positive skills they need to survive in high school. The next program I had on there is also, it's advisory. Advisory has actually been here 21 years. And advisory came out of a NEASC report before my time where they suggested NEASC is the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And they suggested that MMU needs a way to make a big school feel smaller. Now, back then we were almost 1,200 students, so we were much bigger. But the way advisory works is every student has an advisor. It's a 9th through 12th grade, for lack of better words, family. You stay with your same advisor all 4 years. And the whole point is just to get to know each other. They're random. You end up meeting people you don't know, you didn't think you'd ever meet. For those of us who are approaching my age, you may remember the game in Hollywood, 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. You can't go 7 actors without running into Kevin Bacon movie. I would argue it's about 5 degrees of MMU. And how does that help us is maybe someone is griping about a kid. Well, someone else in their group goes, hey, I know him. He's in my advisory. He's not a bad person. And it really helps. And I did throw some data in there from our most recent survey. 84% of our students report that they matter here. 83% report that they feel they belong. 84% they feel respected, and 84% feel they feel supported. Would I love those to be higher? Yes, but that's pretty high. Given I know of one student who I spoke to, because we looked at their name associated surveys, and one student was very concerning. So I called the student aside. I had a good relationship with him, and I said, "Hey, what's up? You said you don't feel you matter. You feel you belong." He goes, "No, I just had it backwards. I really think I did." So, it's a Likert scale, 1 to 5. So I don't know if Eli, Jack, you want to talk about advisory. You've been living it for as long as you're here.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would stress that I've seen and really enjoyed having is our advisors are really good at supporting us, and they have access to our grades and they have access to communications with our teachers. So they are able to see where we need help, and they can push people in the direction of seeking that help. Because for a lot of people, I know that just getting the energy and confidence to take initiative is the hardest part. And after they get started, they can really roll by themselves. So having the advisors to give a little nudge in the right direction has been really helpful. I've seen that impact.
One of the nicest things about advisory for me is probably just having a close connection to a teacher. Having a close connection to an adult in the building really helped me my first year. And also just having a close connection with upperclassmen really helped me become a lot more comfortable in the school. So yeah.
The next thing I'm going to talk a little.
I have a question about advisory. Sorry. So as the 12th graders graduate, and so I'm assuming that the freshmen are plopped into this already group of people that know each other really well. How is that for those incoming freshmen?
Well, there's a lot of work that happens that first month. Yeah. There's a lot of get to know you activities. Matter of fact, we have we're not the best at names here. We call it our lengthened advisory. In the middle of October, we have a 3-hour hunk of time where the advisory does something together. They go to someone's house, they have dinner, they go play games, they might go bowling. So they begin to build a bit of a group. Jack and Eli, what did you guys are both upperclassmen now, but do you remember coming in what your advisories did or what you have done for the younger students joining you?
I think last year we went to a Quorum Maze for Long advisory, and it's the type of thing where in the first month of school it's very helpful to have energetic upperclassmen in your advisories. And I know I would say 9 out of 10 advisories have that sort of leadership in student involvement as well. And it's just really easy to make connections with your advisory, especially because of that lengthened advisory time, which I never realized how dull the name was for. We can work on that. But yes, it's just, we have very good support systems. Advisors are very well prepared, and you can tell like they can communicate on ways and strategies to access the kids who are sort of struggling to make connections. And I'd say after that first month of school, it's smooth sailing.
I think freshman year we went to the Skinny Pancake in Burlington, and then we went to the Echo Museum. That was really fun. And then for the past 2 years, we went to my advisor Anton Kelsey's house, and that has been like really fun because he has a really nice house, and we just played a bunch of games. So yeah.
So we also have an advisory coordinator who plans activities and offers resources for teachers to help them. So we're not using the same get to know you activities year after year, and people get sick of them. That's how that sort of, they sort of get sucked into the little family.
Great, thank you.
The next one I'm going to talk real quickly, but then I'm going to turn over to these folks, and that's the student leadership involvement. There are around 45 different clubs at MMU, and it could go up or down every day. Students want a club, they find an adult who will host it, they have it. Every Wednesday is a club day. This provides, whereas advisory is random, this provides students a chance to group up with people who have similar likes, be that sci-fi, student action committee. We have a club we call the Recess Club. It's in the gym every Wednesday. It's for students that just need to play games. 1 week's kickball, the next is ultimate, the week after that's basketball, and it just rotates. So there's a lot there, but these two wanted to talk about our club time, so I'm going to turn it over to Eli and Jack.
I feel like when I was reading over your report, the most noticeable thing that I read was that the involvement in clubs has really gone up a lot in the past few years, because I feel like there's been a lot more focus on it. And I've definitely noticed that in both of the clubs that I've run, the membership has gone up a ton. I remember Student Action Committee last year, we probably had like 15 to 20 people on a good day. And now this year we have like 39 to 45 people. We almost don't fit in the room anymore. And it's really incredible. I think part of it is we had a really, really energized group of freshmen come in this year. And there's been a lot of energy around getting involved. And it's the same in Yarn Club, which is, love Yarn Club. It's important to have balance, do a lot of leadership and involvement, but also knit. We've had a major spike in membership there as well. It's been hard to teach so many people how to knit this year. So that's just been a very noticeable thing. There's been a lot more energy around club involvement, and I'm sure that will be followed by the formation of new clubs and therefore like the creation of a lot more like positions for leadership and taking charge in clubs.
One of the coolest things I think clubs do is they allow kids to travel. Like last year, there was a club/trip to Nicaragua and another one to Portugal that a lot of my friends went on. And like, it's just like an opportunity for kids to go and see places with their friends that they would have otherwise never gone to or would have never done. And I just think that's really cool. And it's a really cool way to see the world with your friends. So yeah.
How is the club time? What is club day structured?
So every day there's a 30-minute piece of time, 1:10 to 1:40. On Mondays and Thursdays, it's pause. This is a better name, Eli. Pause. Planned advisory work session. So at that time, a student can request to go to a teacher to get help. A teacher can request them to come, or it's a quiet study hall for the teacher to stay on their advisory. So that's Mondays and Thursdays. Advisory is every Tuesday and Friday. In Wednesdays, club time. So every Wednesday, 1:10 to 1:40 is club time. Students can sign up through our Power School system. So they sign up. And sometimes they have to make choices, and sometimes it gets hard. But one of the things we tried to do when we created this is we have so many students involved in sports and music and drama that they weren't able to do that because that's after school and do clubs, because club time used to be after school. Sometimes students will make a before school club, but that's kind of hard. So when we created this window of time for clubs is when really our club membership ballooned, and the neat thing is, teachers also have clubs they want to run. So, I have a teacher who's into science fiction. So he said, hey, can I start a science fiction club? Sure. So it goes both ways. So. The next thing I want to talk about is a little bit different. We had a new program start this year, the Vermont Sustainability Project, and it's a course. It was designed with a couple teachers here. We heard one name already, Anton Kelsey. The other was Sandy Alexander and Brian Oben. They worked with the VYCC to create a course that is 2 periods. And what this course did is it dived in to issues Vermont faces in ways they are addressed. And some of the issues they dealt with were hunger. They dealt with the environmental issues. They dealt with, growing crops organically. And the students, the 2-period time allowed the students to leave. Almost every day, the students in this class got in a bus, went to the VYCC, or went to different partners around the county, some of them outside the county, to experience life differently than just in the classroom, where you're working on the board. This was the first year we ran it. They did their, it was a 1-semester course. They did their presentation night on January 6th or 7th, right here in this spot. And it was really exciting. The students were a diverse group. We have represented across all sort of academic interest levels. And it's something that I'm looking forward to not only continuing, but maybe even looking at coming up with other sort of 2-period classes that get out of the building a little bit with different focus areas. I know, Jack, you said you wanted to talk about this one.
Yeah, some of my friends have taken this class, and like all I've heard is just like positive feedback from them. Like it's such a nice break for them to get out of this building, go do something fun, but also like meaningful, and to just be outside, learn different stuff than what you can learn in the classroom. So yeah, they've really enjoyed it.
I just had a quick building update section. This building is 59 years old. It was built 59 years ago. You bring people here, and the first thing they say is it doesn't seem 59 years old, but it is. One of the things this board has historically done is they've put the money to maintain the building. So while there's things that we need to continue to tick away at, there's no major systems that are on wood, that are on board to fail right now. It's a building that I think our students are proud of. Our maintenance crew does a great job keeping it clean. The tech services folk, Brent, part of it in the back there, they do a wonderful job with our connectivity, making sure students can connect, in classes. So it's really, I put it in there, not so much there's a need, but I really just wanted to tell the board that I appreciate your commitment to keeping this place in the budget, so to speak. And I think it helps the students to see a building that's well maintained and has what it needs to be a school. I don't know if either one of you want to talk about the building. It's not the most exciting topic.
Unfortunately, that's the type of thing I pay no mind to. I don't know what a 59-year-old building looks like.
Appreciate that, Eli. The last piece I put on there, recently I've really felt like public education in Vermont has been getting beat up on. When you listen to some of our officials in Montpelier, you hear about bad product. You hear about students aren't getting what they deserve. And the only piece I can talk about is this building. And any metric you want to look at, I think we can show success at it. There's always improvement we want to make, but I just want to make sure that people in this community understand that there's a lot of good things that are happening in this building and in this district. So, in closing, I've been here a long time, and I think part of the reason I've stayed is because of the community that supports us and the fun place this is to be. And you know, the students are great. The people I work with are great. The school board's always been wonderful, and the community members are. So I'm just glad to be here. So any questions that the board may have?
Sandra?
Thank you, Mike, for your report and for the tremendous work that you are doing and have done for, did you say 21 years or 31? I can't remember.
21.
21. That's a long time though. And I really appreciated hearing the data, the most recent data on belonging, and 84%, that's really good. My question is about the 16% that are not experiencing a sense of belonging, which is over 100 students, which is a lot. And I know maybe there was some, misunderstanding with the survey or whatever, but I'm curious to hear about what is your plan for reaching those students and helping them to experience a sense of belonging, and what, if anything, can we as a board do to assist you in that work?
So the nice thing about that survey is that the answers were identified by name. So students who had in that 15% area, their counselors got their names and have reached out to them and are meeting with them and trying to help them move forward in positive ways. So, one of the things this board has done that allows us to do that is, you support us having, I think our numbers are within the EQS numbers for guidance for our counselors, but we have enough counselors to see our students. So, that's the step we took for that 15% is we broke down the data in an admin counselor meeting. We divvied them up among the counselors, and the counselors have met with those students, and sometimes they're continuing to meet with them. Sometimes it was just a one check off meeting because the student, poo-pooed it. But that's the step we took, Sandra.
Thanks, Mike.
Other questions for Mike? Can I put you on the spot? Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the arc of technology in our schools and where we're headed and how this phone-free model policy is being embraced or not embraced by the school?
For the most part, our students have always recognized, at least when I talk to them in class meetings or I've dealt with a kid who's had an issue with a phone, they recognize that phones get in the way of their learning. They get in the way. They understand that phones, can get in the way of their social lives. So there's not a lot of pushback right now from anyone around this. The big thing for me is trying to have them involved in the creation so they feel ownership of it. I think someone said they didn't want to feel forced upon by it, and I don't think the students do. There's certainly some questions I jotted down. I have a meeting on Thursday with them that I'm going to bring to them and ask them, what do you think about this? This was something I heard an awful lot at a board meeting on Monday night. And it's something for us to talk about. And, we're presenting to all the classes over the next 2-3 weeks, the draft procedures, and we're presenting to the lead teachers who bring it to their department meetings. So we're sort of getting into that feedback loop now. One of the neat things about MMU is if there's a rule, 9 of the 10 students are probably going to follow it. So I don't think it'll be a lot of problem. It's trying to come up with a system that works best, that meets the ask of the ask and the design of the state law, and does so in a way that allows everyone to feel respected. So I think this process is moving forward in a way that'll end up positive.
Can I ask a clarifying question on the groups that are working on collaborating at school? Is that just students, or is there staff members involved?
So far, there's kind of students and there's staff members that we've been talking with. There's a leadership staff that's been looking at it too. So it'll come back to the lead teachers next month, and then they'll bring it to the departments.
Clarifying question for my part. Is this an MMU policy or an MMUUSD policy?
It's going to end up being an MMUUSD policy because the state says you have to have it.
And so is there a plan to loop in the middle schools as well?
Well, the policy will refer to the middle schools. The procedures that the students here are doing will probably be a little bit different than the procedures you see in the middle school. So procedures are school specific.
Okay.
Policy is district wide. Okay. I think I got that right, John.
And I'm guessing we're talking about this some other time I use it as well.
Yes, and I would say if we pull at that thread a little bit, I think the reason it's the biggest paradigm shift is at the high school, and so it really felt like the right thing to do is to have the high school kids take a lead role in looking at that.
So just for everyone's clarity, the policy will come to the board just like every policy does. It will get warned and discussed, and then at the following meeting, it will need to be approved. So there is time we don't have to know it yet. We don't have to, that's, yeah. Okay. Great. I'm not seeing other hands. Are there other questions for Mike? Thank you. You're welcome to stay. You're welcome to head out.
I'm going to stay a little while.
Right.
I'm scared. Choosing's a word.
Are we interested in tabling this policy governance module, or are we interested in spending 5-ish minutes, 10-ish minutes on it tonight?
I'd like to table it. I'd like to table it.
Like to table it? Am I seeing nods for tabling it? Okay, for tabling it, moving on.
I'd rather, when will you finally do it? I'd rather actually.
Time to talk about it?
Yeah.
Entry plan summary, link to report. Folks want to talk about it. So we had a brief introduction to this. And I want us to think about this a little bit in two ways. What should board take from this in addition to what John can take from this, and how we can understand our roles better based on the survey that John did, if there's anything in here that is not superintendent specific. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. Yeah. And I think I've gotten some good questions in advance from different board members. So it seems like people have had fun, is maybe the right word, kind of reading through and picking through. And just as a reminder, this is the pulling together of data from actually very many different surveys, and then also listening sessions that we had in person across all of our schools this fall and early into the winter, from staff, students, and parents, community members. And so unless there are questions about specific parts of the report, I was hoping we could use the 3 questions from the agenda just to frame discussion. So I'll check and see if there are questions for clarity first. All right. So the first one, there were a lot of things in this report that surprised me when I pulled the data together from multiple sources. And so I'm certain that is true. I think there's also a lot that confirms things that we know and that we believe to be true. And so for me, one, the belief in the quality of the education that kids get in our buildings and the amazing staff that we have across our district, that was a really nice affirming thing for me to see that cut across all of the data collection. I don't know if there's anything that jumped out to anybody else.
Not seeing any hands.
Okay. Then I think the most exciting thing to talk about really is like what the report means to us individually. I think most of the data from the report that calls for action really speaks to work that myself and the leadership team at the school have to engage in, but there are pieces that are related to the board. And I didn't know if we wanted to talk those out or pick them apart at all. So the two that spoke to me in 2 different places, or two different parts of the report. One was about facilities, which is obviously a big lift for the board. And then the other is about engagement between the community and the board, especially relative to the ends policy, which is something we've already been talking about. I don't know if there were others that jumped out.
Yeah, Ethan.
Thanks. Thanks. I'm just looking at the conclusions and priorities section and just the first one there of stabilized finance, facilities, and addressing critical infrastructure needs, roofs, plumbing, and lighting. I guess I'm a little bit confused, and maybe it was addressed in a different section, but just thinking about the conversation with the EEI. Is that right, John?
Yep.
And that seemed more HVAC systems, and that's not even part of that stabilized facility. So is there a disconnect in my mind between what I see here about stabilized facilities and addressing critical infrastructure needs and the work that EEI is doing?
Yeah, EEI is unique, and I can't remember if we've talked about this as a whole board, so I'll just zoom out for a minute. So the Finance and Facilities Committee heard a big picture report from EEI, which is a provider we've used several times in the past to help us with facilities audits. Their specialty in Vermont is they will do a comprehensive facilities audit where they look at your major systems, safety systems, all of those kind of pieces that go into the school physical plant, and help you map out not just the condition of them, but also where they are relative to their total predicted lifespan. And then they combine projects that you need to do with grants that are available or special financing and incentives available for energy efficiency. So they originally really had much more of an HVAC and energy efficiency focus, but that has broadened over time. And so they've been successful in helping schools do a project like replacing a roof and actually getting a substantial portion of the project covered by a grant because they add more insulation, kind of things like that. We also talked at the Finance and Facilities meeting about wanting a broader look at our facilities and our use and our programming as well. And so I am midway through the process of getting estimates from NESDEC and a couple other organizations that help do that bigger picture, like looking not just within the envelope of the school building at our systems, but across the district. And also as part of that, they'll do a 10-year demographic analysis for us to give us some kind of good numbers to jump on. And I will also apologize. I'm battling against losing my voice today. So sorry if I'm not coming across clearly.
Sandra.
Thanks, Edie. One other area that I was thinking about that the board could be involved with is the strategic framework. It seems as though there's, certainly involving you, John, as well as the leadership team in the district, but also the board around how decisions are made and the data, et cetera. So just to add that to the list of board involvement.
Yeah, so, excuse me, this is my Kevin Campbell number 7 here, because we talked about it during my interview when he was trying to push me around a little bit. But for me, this kind of framework or organizing principle is really what connects the operational execution of the work the board's identified in the ends policy to what we talk about at the board meeting. So I think this is that kind of, the bridge connecting the work and mapping it out and articulating it. So I think you're right to call that out.
Kevin?
I love that I have my own number. The feedback I guess I'd share on this, it's tough because I'm trying to figure out what's the action or decision coming to the board. It's nothing. It's just kind of absorb all these findings and then, think about what can we do with it. But in your conclusion and priorities where you have those 3 items, keeping our facilities maintained, support systems, and equity, those seem to be themes that we've been working on for many years. So can you help me out with what do you see as are we just going to become much more laser? Do you think we should become much more laser focused on those 3 items and give up other areas or inject additional resources? What's your thought in terms of where you think we're going to be going with this?
Yeah, so I think actually what we found or what we see in the report is widely an affirmation of the good work that the district has already identified for itself. And so it is not surprising, I think, to anyone that has been in the finance and facilities meetings that it's a priority for us to come up with a long-term plan related to that. So I think we kind of got some of these signals as I was collecting this data and have already, either identified or recommitted to that work. For me, some of these are longer term, like the strategic framework that Sandra was asking about, and I think those are useful concepts. I think right now I'm really in the space of thinking about the things that fall in the intermediate area where we can pull specifically about the student support systems, right? That's an easy one for the admin team to run with. I think relative to the board, if I was a board member, if I can be so bold as to venture, I would see this really as an affirmation of 2 big things that you've talked about this year, which is facilities planning and then wanting to engage the community around the ends policy. And so I think that is affirming of that, but also gives us some feedback relative to what people are looking for in those areas. And I think in the different committees that take point on that, we can kind of pick apart some of this source data. So I don't know that what is here calls for major departures from anything at this point, which I think is a very long answer to your question, Kevin.
Yep, thank you.
Yes, for me, I have 2 things. One of them is communication. And, again, we're always struggling with how the board communicates with the community versus how the schools or the district communicates with the community, and understanding when we're doing it well and when we're not. And I think as a board, the questions weren't asked about that, but I'm not sure we're doing it well still. I don't know if we're ever going to answer that question to how to do it, but there's nothing in here that tells me that, hey, we figured it out and we're doing that well. And I think how the district acts on the data that they get from the community piece is where we, where I feel like I have not been able to figure out how to do that well. I have plans, I have ideas, I have thoughts, and then it doesn't actually come out. And so for me as a board, I would love to think more about that and understand that better, right? If things are going well, people are happy, but I don't want the community to come back to us with something that they're like, well, we asked you for this and we asked you for this and we asked you for this, and look, now we're failed, right? Mm-hmm. And that's like that piece that I worry about. And then as we're looking at what our goals are going to be for the district for the future, and as we develop them, they're outward facing almost goals, very different from the 6 goals that we've had previously, which were very much inward facing goals and how our systems work. And I'm thinking about how we make both work better. And I don't have an answer to that either, but I just want us to be thinking about that as we're going to come together over the summer and really think about what our district goals should be, and should they be those inward facing goals that make everything outward facing work better, or is there a way to integrate those better? So I don't have an answer. I don't expect you to have an answer. I just want to share that's where my brain goes when I'm looking at these and taking in this data.
I'll just share on the communication side. The thing that I was actually shocked at is people were super clear. The vast majority of people appreciate our more traditional communication methods, right? Like the simple newsletter home from a classroom teacher. It reaches far more people are telling us that it reaches far more people effectively than some of the more time intensive communication tasks that that we engage in. And so that was super interesting for me.
And then does it make sense for the board to piggyback on that once a year? Or is that intrusion? And I don't know the answer to that either, but right, like if it's the board's goal to reach into the community, how do we, again, no answers, just questions.
We can bring that up at the next Thursday night policy governance.
Yeah.
Anyone has any ideas?
Good idea.
As on piggybacking on communication, I think that there's still a lot of the community still doesn't understand policy governance and how we run as a board. And I know that we're making steps this year to try and make that better. But I think that's a key step. One is for the community to understand we run differently than maybe some of your select boards or other boards or groups that you may have been a part of or are aware of. And our website. I feel like that might be an easy fix.
But I think the website is universally disliked.
That was very clear.
Very clear.
Maybe not easy fix, but
obvious.
Something clear that we can.
Right? Yes.
Are we? Yes, Sandra.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback also on communication, and certainly that's, the board can absolutely improve upon communications, and we will, as well as John and the school leaders. But what really jumped out at me is the need for clarity of procedures, all kinds of things, lots of clarity, information for the community, parent caregivers, and then some consistency around communication when it comes, school to school. Seemed like it was a really important piece for people. And in my perspective, it feels like those could be some early steps as far as that clarity around information, procedures, etc., and some consistency from school to school.
Yeah, I think, variability could be a theme in and of itself, Sandra, for communication or several of these other topics in here.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we can move on to the next agenda item. Superintendent report. There's a lot in here. I hope folks have had time to dig through it. I know that the cell phone policy didn't get linked, but I imagine that you can, okay.
Yeah. So we have, so we heard earlier that we have a high school group that is working on that. And so they're going to present on February 6th. You have a meeting between now and then, right?
A meeting on Thursday.
So after that meeting, maybe we can have a link to an updated document. We could share it now in draft form, but I think that it's likely to.
There's that one piece I got to still work on. The last section.
I think in the update in general, I had planned to spend most of my time on talking about pre-K, given what we have gotten from community feedback, but I did just want to shout out to all my friends going to select board meetings with me. It's been actually very fun. And I think that we have been well received in the 2 select board meetings that we've attended thus far. Heard from a couple different community members that they heard we're doing it, and people kind of universally appreciate that we're reaching out to the community. So thank you. So pre-K, Edie, did you have a vision for how you wanted me to walk through this, or just?
So John and I have been talking about pre-K for a couple of weeks. This board has been talking about pre-K for a number of years, starting with the position that we have been doing our best to meet the community need, and we have not yet figured out how to meet the community need. I don't need to recap the conversations that we've had in the past in more detail than that, but it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because we don't get paid for 5 days of students. We don't have the capacity in all of our schools to have pre-K locations. And we have been able to get some partners into our buildings to help us meet the need to the best that we can. With all of the changes in Vermont, where private pre-K partners, private pre-K schools can have a lot more funding and resources, we have been trying to figure out how to keep them in our buildings and how to keep those partnerships strong, because they don't have to partner with us anymore. And they have let us know that they don't have to partner with us anymore. So understanding the landscape, that it hasn't been great so far. It has been adequate for a certain number of families, but haven't been able to have a program that was robust and successful and really fully able to address the community's needs. And knowing that we have been told by our partners that, am I saying too much? That that we have to make changes.
That's actually a good segue. Thank you.
Yep.
So right now, I mean, we currently have a little bit of a hodgepodge across the district, right? So we have 2 schools in the northern end of the district that don't have pre-K in the building, and instead we have pre-K that we run, and also pre-K run by some partner sites at the UID building. We have the largest pre-K program on the Richmond campus right now. And then actually the tied for the second largest. I mean, there's a surprising number of pre-K students actually at Brewster Pierce, and that's we really see a bubble building of younger students, not just in Huntington, but especially in Huntington. And so the interesting thing that has happened over the past 4 years since we moved to the 4-day model, where students have access to either 2 days a week or 4 days a week of full day programming on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, is that the number of pre-K age students in our district has been increasing pretty quickly, but the share of students that we are enrolling in our pre-K program is falling. And so we have 138 pre-K kids right now. About half of them, a little less than half of them attend 2 days a week. A little more than half of them attend 4 days a week. And we have 28 FTE, 28 staff member headcount approximately supporting those 138 kids. Pre-K kids are very resource intensive. It's an incredible investment to make in the future of students. We find, and the research is super clear, that early childhood interventions are the most effective ones. But we keep losing actually students from our programming. And anecdotally, we were being told that that's because of the schedule. The only place where families have really had the a chance on our campuses to cobble together 5 days of coverage has been in Richmond, because Part 2 for the past 4 years has offered a Wednesday program to pick up those kids. That has perennially been a staffing challenge for them and has often ended up being space constricted. And the long-term viability of that is not secure, just because of the staffing model being what it is. So we have, and I'm sorry, because I've had this conversation a couple of times, but we have 198 kids. So almost twice as many kids out of the district and private partner sites, most of them in Essex, Williston, or South Burlington. And those families actually came out in a lot of the listening sessions to say that they really want their kids to have an option in the district. And then when we looked at the finances of our program in response to that initial feedback, and actually did the math, it was kind of astonishing. This year, we'll make a $1.3 million transfer from K-12 education funds to pre-K funds to cover the shortfall, because the state really bases its funding model off of 10 hours a week for pre-K kids. So we put our minds together, and we're really thinking that we would plan a year and a half to 2 years out, and we thought that we would be early. So we had some initial conversations with potential outside partners to gauge the feasibility of a private-public partnership. And we're actually surprised to learn that most of these potential partners were already engaged in negotiations for FY28 and FY29 with other school districts. I'm certain people have seen in the news, it's been a common trend across the state with tight budgets for school districts to cut pre-K, given the way the state funds it in some fashion or another, or to move to private partners. So we made the decision, and I talked with the board leadership team about this, to move forward and see if we could get an RFP out to see if we could get viable proposals back, to actually then take a look at what we could do to increase the amount of childcare and the number of kids that we could see for pre-K across the district. We've shared out some examples for what that could look like. But those are just, drafts or examples at this point, and really everything depends on what we get back from potential partners.
A couple questions, actually.
Sure.
My first question, in deciding who does 4-day or 2-day, is that a lottery system? Is that parents' choice based on their schedule or need? How is that decided?
So that's been handled differently at different pre-K sites. So there's not a universal answer to that. The big picture answer is that typically 3-year-olds get 2-day week coverage, and typically 4-year-olds get 4-day week coverage. But that's not a universal answer, unfortunately.
And my second question is, the families that choose to do pre-K outside of our district, are they accessing it because it's offered 5-day pre-K, or I guess that's my question.
Yeah, so the anecdotal feedback we get when we lose kids, so we lose on average 11 a year for the past 4 years, and to date this year we've lost 9. The vast majority of those kiddos have enrolled in a program outside the district for schedule reasons, is what the families have shared with us, that 5-day week piece.
Do we get anecdotal evidence or data on the families who aren't even trying to apply?
Sorry?
On families who are the families who aren't applying for pre-K and going external but are in the district. Do we have, I know that's in the surveys to some extent, but do we have historical data on it as well?
We don't have great historical data on the kids that don't attend so we know the numbers, so we can watch numbers over time, because we're a fiscal agent for the pre-K money that goes to private providers. So we can watch that flow of money over time. But we don't have survey data over time. So the survey you heard referenced earlier, we sent to every pre-K email that we had for our current program, but also for the 198 kids on partner sites outside of the district. And you can see linked in the report is the PowerPoint that has the slides. And I think the slides are interesting to look, like the actual percentages and hard data are interesting to look at. But the comments actually are really fantastic to look at and paint the picture of a lot of community members struggling to piece together coverage or driving 2 hours a day to get their kid to and from a site, which was the only one they could get them into.
Me.
So would not taking any subsidies from the state and us privatizing it on our own be an option?
So create a different entity, not a school, because it can't be the school.
Right.
So we would have to create either a nonprofit or a for-profit company.
Right.
And then
exactly.
staff that company separately.
Right. And so then instead of all these people driving to South Burlington an hour and a half out of the way that are spending $600 a week on childcare could turn around and be here potentially.
I mean, potentially you could do that. I think the two ideas that we see being talked a lot about in the superintendent's group are, and instead of taking a move like that, is actually just leasing out the entire pre-K program. So having private providers come in and take over space. There's, I don't think we have an example in the region of anyone that has done that yet. But the more common one would be cutting back the hours to a certain number, and then offering, working with private providers like Lamoille South and Lamoille North have pickup buses from private providers in their areas that pick kids up after pre-K hours are over, and they get kind of bussed over to childcare aftercare program. That's pretty common. I think what we're trying to do is actually get some kind of public-private partnership that achieves what you were getting at with the question you asked, and get more childcare options on our campuses so that can be as seamless as possible for families and kids.
Right. I only bring that up because the district, my alumni back in Dallas, that's what they did because they got tired with the state, and with this whole budget thing we're fighting right now, they went completely private and they called it Little Hawks because they were the Hawks. Anyways, that's what they did, and it turned out to be a massive success. And they had their whole. They ended up taking over a whole elementary school with that, and every kid in the town had access. There was a spot for everybody. It was private, but it was cheaper than all the local daycares or preschools around because it was somewhat state funded, but not state funded, kind of an idea. Just throwing that out there.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Part 2 is considered a private partner, correct?
That's right.
And if I'm understanding correctly, they're saying that this model is not really sustainable and we need to start looking at other options across the district.
Yeah, they've given us that feedback pretty consistently for the past couple of years. They struggle to staff that 1 day a week program, which I think, makes sense.
And so it goes to the programming. So if we're switching from 4 full days to 5 half days, how are we going to be able to get in everything we want to teach the kiddos in less hours? Are we going to try and make it those however many less hours from 4 full days to 5 half days? Get that in for those days?
Sorry.
Pregnant pause. I could answer. Unless you can't talk anymore.
No. Yeah. So any change to 5 days a week, if you go to a morning and afternoon session, which is the common example you see out there. So it's less contact time with our teachers. And if I'm honest, if money were no object, I would say what we really should do is hire more pre-K teachers and staff and have 5 day week programming that we run 100% of. That's not
and
really.
then we, as a board, be talking about what are we going to cut to make that happen, or how much our property taxes in the district going to go up so that we can make that happen, right? So that's just to be. I know you know that, but just to okay.
And so for me, really, this just become when I think about this dilemma, and I think about what we're investing right now, I think, we are spending a lot of money to be missing, about 2/3 of the preschool aged kids. And so I think part of this RFP process and getting ideas for potential partners will be engaging with the community a lot as we go through it and finding out my ideas for what might look good might not actually work for community members, right? And so we can't just develop proposals with a partner and run with it, because we have to make sure that it's going to work. But it does, at the end of the day, no matter what, mean less contact time with Mount Mansfield pre-K teacher. And so selecting the partner is really paramount because we don't just want childcare, right? We want someone who will collaborate with us on programming and really like take all of those SEL pieces, the things that are important and special about our buildings and keep that going and run with it.
Like they're an extension of the pre-K.
Exactly. Yep.
Allison?
I just want to clarify something that John said about contact with a district teacher. And I actually don't think that's right because we're going to be, if we succeed in this, we get more kids in the program. So overall, more kids in the district will have contact with one of our teachers as they ramp up into our schools. Is that correct? Because like, perhaps for some of the kids who have the advantage of already being able to make the pre-K work, there will be a bit of a loss in terms of the amount of time that they are directly connected with one of our staff members. But can we say that more students would have access to our district teachers?
Yeah, so that's the exact point that I'm trying to make, and you're making it better than me, Allison. So total contact time for kids in the district goes up, right? There will be some individual examples where individual student contact time goes down. But overall, in a model like this, we would be able to get many, many more children in through our district pre-K program, which would be incredible.
Does it actually net out to be even though? I mean, are we hiring, if we're not hiring more preschool teachers, are they having or changing the class size? Is it just going to be they're teaching more classes of kids, but the total number of hours they're dealing with kids is the same. It just changes from a smaller group to a larger group. Is that right? Or are there actually more
cohort?
You would either get You would either get a morning session with the pre-K teacher or an afternoon session with the pre-K teacher and flop with our partner. So our partner would have the other time. So our students in our district would have more opportunities to have time with our highly trained teachers. More of them would.
But maybe it's not.
Class size wouldn't change.
So it would be twice the number of students getting compared to a full-time student. If a student was 4 days a week now, they're getting about half the time. And so, but we're doubling the number of kids who can do it. So is that
students with
approximately
time with our teachers and have more care available to them in the same location, right? Which we've had a lot of issues with families wanting more time in our schools over the years, not having to, we would be stitching it together for them. They wouldn't have to stitch it together.
Right.
If we can get partners, right? Good partners to work with us on that.
Monetarily, we're keeping the same number of pre-K teachers teaching the same number of hours to the same number
So it's budget neutral on the staffing side. Yep.
Allison?
I'm trying to understand what happens if we don't make any changes. Like, what are the stakes? There's a lot of...
Yeah, it's a good question. And I do want to, we have an executive session, so I want to, and this isn't a board decision. So you're exactly right. We can't guarantee that we can continue to offer programs the way we've been offering them today going forward. We're going to try to make sure that we have that 1 day a week partner, but we can't guarantee that we will have a partner going forward in the facilities where we have them to fill that gap going forward, which is part of why we have to do this now.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for making that point.
Yep. And that's an important clarification. Ethan?
I know we need to wrap this conversation up, so I'll try to be brief. I think I'm a little worried about the reality of an RFP going unfulfilled, and the reality that that means a loss for community members potentially for that wraparound services, right? If we don't get a community partner, we're just going to offer what we offer for pre-K based on, you know, John, your team's, you know, best process. So, you know, James, I really liked what you brought up in this idea of, you know, does the school or a separate entity, this seems to me like a CES or a BOCES type model, not necessarily just MMU, but a broader collection of districts, at least in Chittenden County, or maybe in Huntington's case, you know, we were represented by lots of people, both in Addison and Washington County. So I just be curious if there was, or what it would cost. You know, we're going to do an audit for facilities. Is there value in doing an audit in whether or not a for-profit or non-for-profit extension of the district to serve full-time childcare and pre-K needs would be financially viable given the number of classrooms that it looks like we have available. Plus, you know, I'll just say, like, we have a very low student staff ratio. And, you know, do we have capacity within our own system to provide high quality childcare? I also John, I'm just curious about the relationship you have with CDD and AOE around childcare, because obviously this is not something that we are facing alone. And, you know, there are experts out there that are living and breathing childcare licensing regulations and all of that. Is there an asset that we have untapped maybe? And I know state government is stretched thin, but is there something possible there? So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think my brief response to Ethan is that you're on the right track. So a solution like we're looking into right now is something that gets us the time and the runway to be able to engage in a conversation like that. Forming a regional collaborative is something that it takes 18 months, I think, is the official timeline, has to be approved by the legislature. There's a lot that goes into that, and that would remain an option for us. I think also the other piece, you know, perennially, the state brings up the question about whether or not they change the model and just say 4-year-olds are in public school pre-K 5 days a week and they're funded the same as every other kid. So a solution like we're trying to build here would give us the flexibility to maintain our staff and expertise and pivot if the state pivots, but also explore creative options like the ones you and Jimmy have mentioned.
It was all James's idea, not mine.
Kevin?
Yep. Thanks, Edie. I'll try to also be brief. So I thought the comparison, it looks like you've said something, your hand will be lowered. Okay. I thought that the comparison of the FTE weighting to money spent was interesting, but I'm not sure that's reason, you know, to create such a sense of urgency and a little bit of cart before the horse, like showing up to a board meeting and hearing a lot about the situation from the community and then talking about it now. So from a, you know, communication and process perspective, I think we need to look at this one to see, you know, where it got a little bit out of alignment, but it does seem like we have a problem before us. I think sometimes it does take time and, you know, to find the right solution and, you know, creating a sense of urgency seems to have gotten a lot of people excited. And now we're in a bit of a reaction mode, and we need to take a step back and see if we need to regroup on how this is being communicated.
Feedback received on that one, Kevin. And I think that there is definitely some board engagement that could have happened in advance.
Thank you.
Last question.
Yeah.
Quick. Do we have space for this many kids? Like, because I know RES is already pretty tight. Do we have space for this kind of program?
So space logistics are going to be the hardest part, actually, of figuring this out. In some places more than others, but we've met with the principals of each of the schools, and we feel like there is the capacity to expand to some degree everywhere.
All right, we will keep you up to date on this as more information comes out, as we continue to figure out how this is going to go and what the options for the district are. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from January 12th, please? Thanks, Heather. Thank you, Helen. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor, a thumb, a hand, an eye? Right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Jimmy, you're abstaining? You're not abstaining. Okay. No abstentions. Thank you. I think can we hold on other business future board meeting agenda items? Can you I have folks waiting for our executive session. Can you send me an email if you have a future agenda item? Go ahead, Steve.
I just had a quick question. And I don't want to derail the conversation, but with the RFP going out, I was looking for our procurement policy online and I couldn't find one. Do we have one for when things go out to RFP, when we get what dollar amounts when they come in front of the board? Or is that something we should?
So we have a board process on what is not budgeted, right? In the budget year, what's not budgeted, we have a certain dollar amount that goes to the board before it can get spent.
Yeah, but I mean, like for how the school, gets vendors, how they, when they actually have to go to RFP, like things of that nature. I just was looking for it.
I think Nicole would have that answer. I've seen it before, so we can get it.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Another vote for the website.
Right. Over again. So the only thing I'm going to say about future board meetings is Lisa will be sending an email soon, or John will be sending an email from him and Lisa. And a week before the next meeting, that's when we need you to answer it so that we can do our board compliance on our policy governance. So that's your heads up. There will be homework between this meeting and next. Can I get a motion to go into executive session? Sorry, I had it in front of me and then I flipped pages over. To discuss, where's my item? You have it?
Now's when the next board meeting is for the members of the public that are still online that might not be here for the
next board meeting.
Well, after
is February 9th at Camel's Hump. There's a remote option as well. Okay. I think it's to discuss an action against a public officer or employee. Can I get a motion to go into executive session for that? Thank you, Susan. Kyle, thank you. All in favor to go into executive session? Okay. 5 minutes. See you in the executive session room. We will come back to this meeting after to close out the meeting. Great. 5-minute break. Thank you, everybody. It is 9:49. Executive session has just ended. Is there any other business from the board? There was a
So we have a lot of questions about pre-K, and is there anything that we can talk about?
Yeah, so right now, just to recap, we're waiting for the RFPs to come back. We're waiting to hear if we have partners. to work with us going forward for pre-K. And it's really important for us to share with the community that we're trying to figure out how to get more pre-K hours in our building for our community. And that's our goal. And that's what John and Angela and their team and all are working on making happen. And so as we have more information, they will continue to share that with us and with the community. Do we have a day that and for all the folks that have been trying to get their schedule for next year buttoned up right now, we apologize because that's really hard. We understand that. And what we're trying to do is give them more options in our buildings. So had we understood that this was coming up as a problem for next year sooner, we would have been able to deal with it sooner. But when we were notified is what put us into this time constraint. So does that help?
So this will affect 2027? Okay.
Whether we want it to or not, this will affect 2027.
Okay.
Hands are tied in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't know exactly how. So that's what we're trying to make sure is it has the least amount of impact on our students as possible. So instead of just reacting, we're trying to react in a way that makes it better. Yep. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Kevin, you're the second. You're okay with that, yes? Technology delay. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Have a great night, everybody. Drive safely if you're driving. If not, we're jealous and see you all in February.